North and ScoreNorth.com. Purple Daily, presented by Surly Brewing Company.
You know, he's done everything we've asked of him. He probably could have handled playing. Guy had a lot of snaps in those 2 games that he played for the Raiders, so it really wasn't a matter of getting him some time or preseason time. He's done a great job acclimating already, so he was really up as our third emergency quarterback if we needed him. But I didn't want to throw him out there just yet. We'll continue to kind of talk through how that depth chart's going to look behind Kirk, but thought Sean did some good things in the first half, and really we were a couple plays away, a couple drop balls away from Kellen putting together maybe a really nice night, and then obviously we just couldn't get any momentum there on that last 2-minute drive.
Yeah, and finally, the actual football games are now on the horizon for the Vikings in a couple weeks. The third preseason game is behind us. We will break it all down and dive into some of the news that came out of last night's game on this sort of a, I don't know, it's not really an emergency episode. Call it a bonus Sunday episode of Purple Daily Vikings entertainment, where we just want the Vikings to win a Super Bowl and at some point a preseason game maybe before we die. It's been about 3 years since they've won a preseason game. The show is presented by our friends at TCL. No matter what you watch, TCL has award-winning TVs for any budget, any space, all with stunning picture quality. And TCL makes more than just TVs. They offer mobile products, audio devices, home appliances. TCL bringing you joy and simplicity through innovative technology. Learn more at TCL.com. Joe, what was your number one headline takeaway from the third and final preseason game?
So I'm going to go with the obvious here, but I think it's still important, and we certainly love to talk about quarterbacks. But my number one takeaway was, if there was any question about what was going to happen on Tuesday, it's been cleared up. In their own special way, Mannion and Mond can't be on, or there's no real compelling case that I see to have them on the final 53-man roster. Mannion, who played the entire first half, we knew that. Mond, I was a little bit more curious about, but you know what? There was I believe it was a 3-play sequence, guys, that summarized where Mond's at right now. And why I would very much consider having him on my practice squad, but I would not eat up a roster spot, considering that they are deemed to be very valuable right now. And it was the second half series when Mond made a touch pass to Amir Smith-Marset, which was really nice. It was a nice catch, but it was a really nice throw. Mm-hmm. And of course the announcers are like, that's a heck of a throw, and they were exactly right. And that was awesome. And this is where, and it's a preseason game, okay? So again, no one's really scheming. There's not really exotic blitzes and stuff. Yeah. And then that was followed by a gross overthrow to, I believe it was Nick Mullens, who had a terrible game himself. But anyway, in this case, it was not his fault. It was a really poorly thrown ball. And then that was followed by one of the things that I saw, and this is what I was bringing up during the course of training camp. And last night we got just an excellent view of the problem. That was followed by a sack. And yes, Kellen Mond was playing with an offensive line that was definitely depth guys, okay? So I'm not going to say, oh, no, he was with the top offensive line. But that being said, last night I think he took about 3 sacks in which you have to get rid of the football. This is how this league works. This is why the whole Kirk thing of, well, he doesn't have protection. Okay, that's partially true, but also you're relying on your quarterback to say, oh my goodness, it's breaking down, bang, the ball is out. It might be an incompletion. And he just took a sack. And so in those 3 plays, I saw exactly what I had seen throughout the course of training camp, and it's why I consider him to be a practice squad guy at best right now, not a 53-man roster guy. And so Nick Mullens didn't play because why play him?
He has 17 starts in his NFL career.
That's my biggest takeaway was the entire quarterback depth chart for the 53-man completely, if there were any questions, cleared itself up in Denver.
Yeah, I think we're kind of doing the whole black and white thing again here where, but there were some drops, and so therefore it eliminates all of the other bad stuff. Well, what's he supposed to do? There was a couple drops out there. I don't know. It doesn't give you the permission to take a horrible sack on the edge of field goal range at one point where you're now Turns out they made a 58-yard field goal because Greg Joseph is incredible, and we will get in the hold was spectacular, by the way.
What a hold.
Get to all of that.
My guy, Ryan Wright.
But
I always said I loved him.
At the time of the sack, you're like, dude, oh my God, why are you you cannot take that sack. And it wasn't like snap, boom, defender in his face. It was snap, process. Right. Oh, can't find anything. Now I'm going to take a sack at the 40-yard line. Good thing you have one of the best long-range kickers in the NFL. But the other one was the rollout to the left on 4th down.
Yep.
You can't take a sack there. And Kevin O'Connell immediately brings him over on the sideline, and he didn't dress him down or anything like Mike Zimmer may have, but he immediately was like, dude, you couldn't like read all of what he was saying like through reading his lips, but you knew that he was saying some variation of, guy, it's 4th down. I just need you to throw the ball somewhere. Just throw it up to the back of the end zone somewhere. You can't eat that in that situation. So yeah, it's disappointing because you do see there are a couple passes here and there that do make sense, but by and large, the decision making is a touch or two slower than it needs to be. Mm-hmm. And I think if it came down to, hey, the Vikings decided they're going to keep 3 quarterbacks on the roster, I would keep Kellen Mond as my QB3, and I would say goodbye to Sean Mannion, because I don't know. You've already got sort of the veteran, experienced backup guy in Nick Mullens, who has some knowledge of the system, at least the coaching tree of the system in the Shanahan offense.
Right.
I don't want Sean Mannion was disastrous as well. So like he has shown me nothing in preseason or regular season football games that lead me to believe that he should be an active NFL player on a 53-man NFL roster. Kellen Mond isn't good enough yet either, but might become good enough in 6 months or a year. And so, again, I don't want either of those guys playing a regular season game, but if I'm keeping 3 quarterbacks, I'm keeping Kellen Mond as my 3rd quarterback.
And I just wouldn't keep 3 now, because with Mond, I think that if he was their guy, so if Kwesi and O'Connell had drafted him, I think that there is a much better chance that they keep him as the 3rd guy on the final roster. That being said, he's not their guy. I'm almost positive that they're going to draft a quarterback in the next draft. And I think with what Mond has put on tape, you would have to be pretty confident in your ability to outcoach O'Connell QB-wise to say, oh, we'll fix him.
Yeah.
So I think he is a practice squad guy. My only question about the eventual fallout from what we see on Tuesday, and this is something I have no clue about, but it's not going to surprise me, is Kirk going to politic for Mannion to be brought back, even potentially as a practice squad guy, because he likes him in the room, and they're good friends. That's the one question.
Is he eligible for practice squad?
Yes.
Mannion?
They've changed that rule now. I think you can have like up to 2 or 3 like old men like me, just like, oh yeah.
For some reason, I thought that was
the money.
Just a COVID year thing in 2020.
They kept it.
Okay. So you could, in theory, have Mannion just around practice squad, whatever, if you have completely given up on Kellen Mond as the backup in even 2 years from now. Because the thing about Mond is you do have him under team control if you want for 2 more years at a 3rd round draft pick level salary. So you're never going to be breaking the bank for him. If you thought there was a player in there as a backup year 3, year 4, you do run the risk of another team picking him up. Again, I don't think we have a Tom Brady situation here where you're going to look back and wonder why you passed on that guy. But I'm just saying, like, Sean Mannion has 0 upside.
Correct.
Kellen Mond has some upside. That should be considered in the next few days.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything that Sean Mannion has shown you in his preseason football games that, warrant keeping him on the roster. And he's great in the room. If you could pluck his brain and keep that brain around, which is great, and that's where he's been able to stick around as long as he can in the NFL. And, I'm sure he works harder in practice, and there's probably things in practice that they have seen that's not on tape for everyone else to see that they believe in Mannion. But at this point, dude, like, it's over. Like, I would be pretty upset if Sean Mannion was kept on the active roster over Kellen Mond.
Yeah.
Start coaching, man. Start coaching.
Who? Mannion?
Mannion, yeah. Start coaching.
Not me.
Yeah. He's going to be a coach.
It's like, be more specific there.
Yeah.
He's going to be a coach.
He will be a coach probably at some point. Any other final quarterback thoughts from you guys before we get to a bunch of other things on the newsworthy list from last night?
I've got one, and it's exhibition game related, but outside of the Vikings, a lot of teams made grave mistakes. Malik Willis can play. You go watch what he's doing right now.
Oh, dude,
that
50-yard run he had, man, that was.
And I'm telling you, how does that athletic ability get to the third round?
Well,
This
because
is an indictment
but here's why, and this is what's hilarious about it. Well, but he has some trouble processing defenses in the passing game. Well, you know what? While he builds that ability,
Yes.
he runs for 50 yards in chunks
Right.
like he did in that game.
And
Good luck
yes.
stopping him either way.
And this is exactly where there is a conversation, and this is what drives me crazy about football people, between Mond and Willis. Kellen Mond processes by standing there. Oh my God, it's breaking down. What should I do? And then he takes off. Too late. Or bang, blows up, right? You're right. Willis, while processing probably slower than coaches want, takes off.
Yeah.
Screw it. Anyway, this league can drive me crazy. And when I watch that kid play now with all of the people that were in on him going into that draft, and he made it to the third round, that to me would in a quarterback starved league where early round flyers I think are probably smarter, it drives me crazy.
Well, think about that level of athletic ability buys you multiple years to slow down the processing as you grow into it.
Yeah.
Think about the guys. I mean, Josh Allen wasn't processing very quickly the first couple of years, and his mechanics were jacked. Russell Wilson, Michael Vick. I don't know. Michael Vick was never fully great as a pocket passer, I'm not saying that you have to be able to sit back there and process and throw darts if you want to be a Super Bowl caliber quarterback, I think. Mm-hmm. But man, third to have that many teams pass on a guy, and the Vikings be one of them, it'll be a very interesting guy to watch. He will have to get better at that stuff. But it's a nice little bridge that you can use the next 2 years to be able to just run for 900 yards and a bunch of touchdowns when they put you in a game. So let's just kind of check through some of the other news. Bisi Johnson with another knee injury, and Kevin O'Connell came out after the game and said it's not looking good. He did do enough to make the team. Just he wanted to put that out there and say, yeah, he was going to be on the 53, but the injury doesn't look good. So we'll have to see if he was going to make the team, and we don't know if they're going to keep 5 or 6 wide receivers. My guess is probably 6. You know that Amir Smith-Marsette's in. He's looked very impressive. But if Bisi Johnson, he's the 4 for sure.
He's the 4, I agree.
So if they keep 2 more and Bisi Johnson is not going to be one of them because he's going to be on the injured list, who do you think the other 2 are? Or do you think they only keep 5 if Bisi's out?
I think if Bisi's out, and it certainly sounds like he is. Now, he tore his ACL in a training camp practice last year, and O'Connell refused to say if it was the same knee or claimed he didn't know, but this certainly sounds like it's bad. So let's just assume Bisi's year is done again, which is unfortunate. I think it becomes easier to potentially keep 5. I think, like, before I thought it was Bisi and Naylor, perhaps, Myron Mitchell. Unfortunately, my guy dropped a pass last night, and so I think he's a practice squad guy now. I don't think he's going to make the roster.
I love how decisions are made like that. Oh, that one play in the third quarter of
I
one
like him
preseason game. Sorry, guy.
Well, I do think it's fair now with the size of practice squads. I do think it's fair to have discussions about the fact that from what they put on tape from exhibition games, can you get them through? Like, that's my big thing is not, I think he's going to make the 53-man and contribute. My thing is, if the guy had a good camp and I like him, can I get him through, at least initially on Tuesday, to practice squad? My answer to that one now is yes. So I think what they do is I think it's probably a simpler decision if they decide to keep 5. And I'm a little bit torn then. I guess if you think you can get Naylor through to practice squad as well, it's Mitchell perhaps or something like that. But I do think BC being out would clear up the torture of saying we have to keep 6 to, at least initially, we might keep 5 and then take it up to 6 if we pick up a guy off the wire or if a guy on practice squad is performing well and can get promoted.
1 through 4, I love the Vikings receivers. And the more I see of Emir Smith-Marset, who, to his credit, too, had a nice punt return last night, had a nice little, 20-yard, I don't remember what the final total was, but it was nice.
The catching concerns me, but once he gets the ball, I think he's good.
And it's obvious why they want him to be the punt returner, because it's an extra maybe 4 times a game where you get to use that speed, and maybe he breaks one into opposing territory or something. So yeah, 1 through 4, man, I really like the Vikings wide receivers, and we haven't seen really any of the top 3 in these preseason games. So it'll be fun to see those guys unleashed in the regular season with the number 1 offense. I have a running back observation for you guys too off last night. Mm-hmm. So I think it's very obvious that Ty Chandler is at least the 3rd best running back on this team. He might even be better than Alex Madison. That dude can play. And I get that he's going against seconds and thirds and it's vanilla defenses, but just watch the way that he moves, watch the way that he hits the hole. Some of the runs he's been breaking off in these preseason games. I mean, he had 44 yards on 5 carries or something last night.
Didn't fumble.
What's that?
He did not fumble. Kane did. That is just football death. I hate that.
And that was the second part of my observation, which is, Wangwu's fumble. It happens. He's not the first guy to fumble in a football game, but he does have a major lack of experience, even dating back to college, as a ball carrier. He wasn't, even at Iowa State. Most of these guys that get drafted as running backs, like Ty Chandler, at least you've got a season of 200 carries under your belt in college or something, and he wasn't even a featured running back in college. So I think if you were to go back to his entire, I'm going to pull this up real quick. I don't think he has 200 carries in his career dating back to his freshman year of college. So just carrying the football and getting hit and getting used to, I got to protect the ball here against high-level competition is a thing that he is still working on. So the way I kind of see it right now, it's Dalvin Cook is on a different platform. Alex Madison is a very good, serviceable backup. Wasn't as good last year as maybe previous years. Yards per carry was down. Ty Chandler is very much the most intriguing backup running back that they have on the roster behind Dalvin Cook. And Kene Nwangwu should definitely be on the team as a kick returner and a guy that you drop some trinket plays for. But if you're looking for a guy to come in at some point, hey, the second half, we need a running back that we can actually hand the ball to and do running back things. Ty Chandler is above Kene Nwangwu on that list for me.
And here's why I think he makes it. And I think part of the reason why they're going to keep one more running back than they prefer is not necessarily based on 2022, but more so the future. Nwangwu and Chandler especially fit exactly what you want from that position now. Cook is well paid and Cook is great. So Cook is completely safe and he'll probably miss some time, but you know what? He's damn good. Madison's more of an old school guy. He's the guy that comes in to replace Cook, and that has value. But when you look at those last two that we've been talking about, those two guys play football as running backs, and they're almost also long-term disposable pieces, so they're absolutely perfect. So I think the construction of the depth chart at running back will probably have an extra player on it on Tuesday based on the future too, because the one thing is, and he might, odds are now he's going to be on the roster for the entire season. Madison though is going to be a free agent after the season. He is gone for sure. And so, yeah, I think that there's going to be some depth. I think there's going to be some roster decisions made by these guys also based on how they see the future construction of things, above and beyond just what they think is best going into the Packers game on the 11th of September.
Here is it's worse than I thought actually on Kene Nwangwu's just lack of experience.
Sure.
So he had 143 total carries in college, 13 last year with the Vikings. So, call it just over 150 carries dating back to his freshman year in college. Mm-hmm. Ty Chandler had 603 carries, Power 5 carries in college, including 182 his last year at North Carolina. So he had about 30 more carries in his last year than Nwangwu has had in 5 years, 1 year NFL, 4 years college total. Just when it comes down to who do you trust to just carry the ball and mechanically be a good running back. And Chandler's got some explosiveness too. So he's really proved himself in the last month and a half.
And I don't think
you kind of feel too that they're gonna try to probably keep as many playmakers as possible, right? So like if we were talking about if they're gonna keep 5, or they're gonna keep 6 wide receivers. Okay, well, are they gonna keep 4 running backs too? So if you obviously kept 6 wideouts and then you have 4 running backs, like I know that occupies 10 spots of your 53, but there's so many playmakers around that they probably want to keep as many as those guys on the roster. Like if you look at someone like Amir Smith-Marset, that dude is the second wide receiver at least on the Bears or Packers right now. So from the running back side, you have legitimate playmakers, and I don't know if they're exploring calls for Alexander Mattison. You know, I kind of forecasted if a team lost a starting running back between now and the regular season, that might demand the market up for someone like Alexander Mattison to be expendable in a trade. I don't think they're just going to be cutting Alexander Mattison, nor should they. But it is curious how they'll shake out the wide receivers and those running backs, because I think Kevin O'Connell wants to maximize all those playmakers in general.
And I think the most important question on Tuesday, again, to go back to it, is who can you get through to your practice squad? And I think Chandler has put enough on film where you couldn't. Somebody would claim him, I think. And I don't want to lose him. So there are definitely some guys I like who I think I can sneak through, especially because when the final cuts come down on Tuesday, the entire market itself is going to be absolutely flooded with players. But I think Chandler's a guy who's probably caught some eyes. And so if I was to cut him on Tuesday and lose him, I'm probably like, you know what? Not a great look or move. So I think he makes it based on that too. Because yes, Wangu I really like as far as what he can bring as a gimmick player. And I mean, hell, the man returned 2 kickoffs for touchdowns. Very few people are capable of that now. But that being said, I don't think that he is ever going to be regular running back material. Tyson Chandler, I think, can be.
I've been thinking about Declan's point about Amir Smith-Marset here, and I even pulled up the Packers roster. I think he would be the Packers' second best receiver, maybe. So,
yeah,
32-year-old Randall Cobb. Would you rather a 32-year-old Randall Cobb or Amir Smith-Marset?
Yep.
I'll take Smith-Marset at this point in their careers.
Yeah, Cobb is old and beat up too, so he's not like a fresh 32.
Alan Lazard is being dubbed as the number one. He's 6'5", big bodied guy. I'll give him Alan Lazard.
I take him. Yeah.
Yeah, he's a good player. Undrafted.
Sammy Watkins, 30-year-old Sammy Watkins.
6 years ago.
Yeah, Sammy Watkins might be
been a while
totally cooked himself.
Yeah. And then Christian Watson is the kid out of North Dakota State they drafted in the second round. Another just 6'5" behemoth, but he's never played a snap.
That's what I'm curious about.
If Amir Smith-Marset was re-entering the draft right now, he'd be probably a second-round draft pick. Oh, he'd be a first-round draft pick, but probably be a second or third-round draft pick. Maybe I'm just being a homer there, but I think he's a really good player. So, Aaron Rodgers will find a way to make this work regardless. But anyways, the other piece of confirmation we got last night, we should bring this up here, is when asked about Ed Ingram as the starting right guard, somebody asked Kevin O'Connell, hey, Ed Ingram was among the guys who didn't have to play last night. What does that mean for his chances to be the starting right guard? And Kevin O'Connell didn't fully confirm it, but he said it's trending in that direction, that Ed Ingram has won the starting right. I don't know what else needs to happen here.
I declared this over 3 weeks ago, okay? Listen to me, not O'Connell.
It is kind of weird that he wouldn't just come out and say, he's the starting right guard. Maybe is there another level at practice he needs to achieve here, I guess? But your thoughts on Ed Ingram, second-round pick, beating out the veterans, the injured veterans?
He did it weeks ago. And you know what? I have no idea if it's going to work great, but here's what I do like about it. I like the commitment to finally thinking that you found a real solution. Not some guy that was, the backup on the Titans last year or had a cup of coffee with the Rams, an actual draft pick. The Ingram pick itself in the second round, right, seemed to be a reach because I think he was projected more as a third or potentially fourth round guy. But that being said, here's what I appreciate. I appreciate the fact that it looks like a high draft pick might be the solution here. And if he is, let him play. Like, there is no advantage to being like, well, but Jesse Davis has experience. You, Phil, have quoted PFF's statistical disdain for his 2021. Yeah. It was now he was a tackle, but the point is, I like the fact that this team is finally trying to find a right guard who is not just a fixer-upper, car. Oh, we're gonna drive this thing for 600 miles, and then she's gonna fall apart. So I like the commitment to actually trying to solve the problem.
This does feel like an anti-Mike Zimmer thing. Like Zimmer was. All coaches want young players to prove themselves over time. You're not just going to be anointed the starting right guard, during minicamp back in June. So every coach starts off from the point of, hey, young guys, you got to beat out these veterans and prove it. But Mike Zimmer would carry that over into like week 8. He would just be, or week 1, week 2, Justin Jefferson. Nope, sorry, not yet. We're gonna wait till October and then we're gonna start you. And so this is the right move. It's absolutely, why put one of these veterans in at the beginning of the season if you feel like this is just going to happen in week 4 anyways, right? You might as well see. I like the way they're doing this, because then if Ed Ingram just isn't good enough, or which I don't think is going to be the case, but if you can't handle it, now you got some veterans back here to lean on to replace him, as opposed to running out the incompetent veterans to start the season behind the 8 ball. Like, start with the high upside guy. If it works, boom, you're off to the races. If it doesn't, you got fallback plans. So just seems like a pretty easy decision once you saw what he was doing in some of the practices, as you reported, and the games. He was pretty good in the games too.
Here's my question. Which of the 3 veterans who have been vying for jobs might get cut? I think Schlottman's safe, because I think he is, he's proven that he can back up Bradbury, and potentially if he has to start. Jesse Davis has been moved now to left guard, which indicates to me that they're trying to judge if he can be that swing guard type of guy, because he was originally going to be, when training camp started, the starting right guard. So they know that he can definitely play both spots. Chris Reed finally has come back now, and last night he was playing some guard, and then he was the center after Schlottman and before Sokol. I would guess that if a guy's in trouble, it's Chris Reed, but they definitely were trying to get a look at Reed at center, which I don't love, because we've talked about this. He has never played a game there in his career. But that's my question now, is one of those 3 veteran guys potentially come Tuesday on the chopping block?
We have PFF grades, by the way, if you want to know how these just came out during the show here. If you want to know how some of these backup offensive linemen performed according to PFF in this game.
Let's get it.
Are you ready? Okay, here we go.
Football.
The number 1 blocker in that game last night, offensive line for the Vikings, was Chris Reed at right guard largely. Let's see, he played 13 center snaps, 21 right guard snaps in that game last night.
Started at right guard.
So he was the best blocker for the Vikings last night. 84.4 grade, no pressures allowed. Oli Udoh was actually, I take that back. Kyle Hinton was number 2. He did not start, but he played 44 snaps. And then Oli Udoh had a pretty nice game. Austin Schlottman, fairly decent game at center, only played 21 snaps. So I think you're right. Austin Schlottman's the backup center. He's not going anywhere.
Yep.
I think this was kind of their, hey, Chris Reed, you've missed a lot of time. Let's at least get you in there, see what you look like. I think Chris Reed made the team last night. I think Jesse Davis, who played 21 snaps, was very pedestrian according to Pro Football Focus. I think if either Jesse Davis or Chris Reed are going to get cut, it's going to be Jesse Davis, I think. And then beyond that, Wyatt Davis was okay last night. Played 31 snaps, all at left guard. So they've now kind of moved him around both guard positions.
See you later, kid.
And then Josh Sokol played the other 31 snaps at center with the third team. And he was not a disaster, but he was not very well graded. He was below average, a 51.8 grade in that game last night.
Practice squad guy, I think.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Which is absolutely fine. That's where he belongs.
All right, let's see the quarterback grades here, just for fun. This is always a
Mond's going to be better than Mannion, right?
Oh man, oh god, Mannion was a disaster. Yeah, a 32.5 grade out of 100. I mean that is an atrocious grade in almost any context. When you are a veteran in the league playing against second and third teamers, that is so bad. So his average depth of throw was better. It was 8.4, but it was just, it was bad. And then Kellen Mond was a 67.3, so not atrocious. I think, the drops hurt him a little bit, but he took a couple really bad sacks. He was credited with 3 drops that would have improved his performance.
Yep.
But neither guy has performed well the last 2 weeks. So there you have it. Receiving, just for fun here. It's tough to tell, but Emir Smith-Marset was the highest graded receiver last night. Everybody else was kind of meh or below average. And then on defense, the top-rated defensive player. We can get to some injury stuff here, too, before we wrap the episode. But Chris Boyd was out there for 61 snaps. It was the highest-graded defensive player. TJ Smith was number 2. He's an interior defensive lineman. Luigi Villain was the third best-graded player. At the bottom, so who was kind of a train wreck that's notable? Jalen Twyman did not have a good game last night. Brian Asamoah was dinged. He also got hurt at one point and then came back. So I don't know. Maybe he played half the game with an injury.
I don't care about that one.
No.
I like
when he got hurt, I was like, let's just shut the game down here. All right. I don't think we need. And then T.Y. McGill got hurt too and did not come back. It's like, all right, do we need to be doing this? These are
like the third
potential
player,
roster guys here. Yeah. Yeah, third play of the game. And then that was it for him. I hope that doesn't prevent him from making the team because that was a cool story. But sometimes if you get hurt in the third preseason game and you're a borderline roster guy, they say, well, that's
8th
that's
year
too
too
bad.
Brutal business. Ty.
Yeah.
Bring the old play tablet.
Yeah. And your all your gear. You can keep some shorts, but that's about it.
Oh, I'd love a pair of those
those
shorts.
yeah.
mesh Viking. I love mesh shorts.
Or the
You guys know
zip-up
that.
jackets. I love me a zip-up jacket.
Do you like those too?
I
do as well.
Those are nice.
I do as well.
Nice.
Let's definitely talk about the kicking situation here in a second. But first, it is that time of year where last year Judd went into his weight loss plan and cave and came out 40 pounds lighter.
Yep. You know what? And I got a note, and I don't know why, but it was great during the course of the game. A tweet last night from a guy who had done the exact same thing. And the note was very nice. It said, thank you for changing my life. But he shouldn't have been thanking me. He should have been thanking my friends. Livia Weight Control Centers. I believe he said he had dropped like 50 pounds on his way to like 80 pounds. And basically is saying what I've said, what Dawn has said, and what most importantly you have said, and that is this: Livia works, and the weight loss program works. And here's the best part: keeping it off works. It changes lives, and all of a sudden you feel great. And their anniversary sale right now, you can join the program, 50% off. 855 go LIVEA Livia.com LIVEA.com. Last thing is I got a follow-up note that said, I'd love to join, but I'm in Florida. No. We've been talking about this, right, guys? We've been talking about this. Florida, Arizona, Seattle, Phil, New York. You know what? It doesn't matter because you can do virtual appointments. That's right, the food, and there's not a ton of food, the food sent to you. So you know what? Don't dismiss it and say, I can't do it because I'm not in state. Doesn't matter. Livia, LIVEA.com. Go to that life-changing website today. You'll be happy you did.
It also doesn't matter what state you're in when it comes to Federated Insurance, although they are based in Minnesota, in Owatonna, and they are rooted in the upper Midwest. Their history is rich across the country with innovative, committed people guided by a core set of principles and values that they apply to your business. If you want to find out how you can take your business to the next level through risk management tools and resources, go to federatedinsurance.com, where it's our business to protect yours. All right, last night, what a showing for the Vikings special teams unit, at least the kicking and punting units. So we had, let's start with the field goals. We had a 58-yard field goal off of a terrible sack that Kellen Mond took. It's the exact type of thing you want your kicker to do, right? Oh, my God, our offense took a terrible sack.
Yes.
Are we even in field goal range anymore? I don't know. Let's see if we can knock a 58-yarder through, and Greg Joseph does it. I was almost more impressed by the other kick. So he had a 46-yarder earlier in the game. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if you guys saw where that thing went through the uprights. First of all, it just split the uprights in half, maybe like a little left of center. And it hit the net almost at the top of the uprights from 46 yards. It would have been good from at least 65. I don't want to say 70 because I don't know what that looks like.
In Denver, it might have been.
Denver, you're probably right. Denver helps. Being in Denver helps. But man, Greg Joseph was money, and I was watching specifically to see if there was any botching of the hold. I want to see where the laces are, and linebacker looking punter Ryan Wright, who also does the holding, did a good job. And then he also booted on the broadcast. They called it a 68-yard punt. In the stat sheet, it was a 71-yard punt that he kicked last night. 3 of them inside the 20 out of the 4 that he kicked, and the long one stuck at like the 3-yard line. Just one of the most ridiculous punts. Pat McAfee picked it up on all of his social media. So, again, you got to take the distance of punts and kicks in that stadium, in that city, with a grain of salt. But a great showing that should make even Judd Zulgad feel a little more comfortable by Greg Joseph and Ryan Wright last night.
Well, to be very, very clear, the only thing that I have expressed concern about is the relationship when it comes to the long snapper, holder, and kicker. So, like the punting's been great. Punting, obviously fantastic. But yeah, if this continued, I think most importantly, what I think has been a phenomenal, and he wasn't bad last year, but Joseph had the miss against the Cardinals, and clearly with how Mike felt about kickers, it just soured things to a certain point. And Greg Joseph, we've talked about this since training camp started, has been great. And I really believe that aside from Kirk, the person that's going to just flat out benefit the most individually, mentally, is the kicker. But it's sort of weird, too, because in some ways, and this is not true across the board, but in some ways, like with this one, we're sort of seeing Spielman, I think, vindicated with what he envisioned for things. And unfortunately, when your coach is when your coach has tyrant tendencies towards certain positions, it hurts. But yeah, this just continued. Greg Joseph, I expect, knock on wood for Vikings fans, I expect to have a phenomenal year. And last night continued to show a confidence that I'm pretty certain we didn't see from a Vikings kicker once Mike got that job. Certainly not once Blair Walsh missed against Seattle.
Yep. I think we always have to be a little careful letting our guard down too much when it comes to kickers.
Agreed.
Around here. But they're doing all the right things, it would seem. And they know what they're doing. They're not just going to obliviously swap out the holder without some knowledge of what they're doing. And you know what? Maybe in a weird way, swapping out the holder in the way that they used to, maybe just like the panic and the angst that Mike Zimmer created around the kicking situation made moves like that a bigger deal than they should have been. Maybe around other parts in the NFL, when you swap out a holder, it's not to be done carelessly, but it's not that big of a deal. Okay, guys, we'll figure it out. We've got a system in place. We'll be patient. But the way that Mike Zimmer kind of went about these Rick Spielman panicked moves, and we're going to get rid of the long snapper here and the holder here, and if you miss a kick, then I'm going to scowl at you on the sidelines. It's like if you approach it the way that O'Connell and this staff has approached it, which is, hey guys, we're going to make some mistakes here and there. It's all good. Just you got about 3 weeks to figure out the holding situation, but we believe in both of you, and we think you're going to be great. Let us know what you need. Right? Oh, okay, cool. I feel calm. All right. It's like having a caddy that's just like, hey man, just let it rip, dude. Just the water's not there. It's okay. You got this thing. So watch him miss 4 chip shots in week 1 against the Packers, and then we come back on this show and freak out. But
Greg Joseph has been perfect all season. Game 17, everything on the line.
Oh, my God.
I'd say he won't miss.
Oh, gosh. All right. There's a lot more to get to in the weeks here, 2 weeks leading up to the Packers game. But in terms of just putting the third preseason game to bed, anything else from you guys off last night?
Go ahead, Dix.
I'm ready for regular season football, man. The Twins walking it off literally with a walk-off. Like, I love baseball, but I need some football in my life. And these preseason football games, it's something. It's a little bubblegum. It's taste. But I want a full meal, man. I want my football Sundays. 2 weeks from today, be waking up, and we'll have football on Sundays for the next 3 to 4 months. I'm just glad this preseason is being wrapped up. I'm glad. Thank goodness.
If you have questions about why O'Connell and more teams don't play guys. Like, I'd like to see guys. And look, there's an argument to be made from the old 4 preseason games that the third one, you'd play a half with your starters so that there were reps there. But if you're like, we should go back to that, I have one thing to tell you. Look at the injury list for the Vikings from last night. And now replace the names. Jefferson or Thielen or Kendricks. Because we got to get him some playing time, right? Like, Phil, when you say that you saw guys get hurt and thought, shut this thing down, those are still backups. So my biggest thing is for anyone, 2022 guys are tough. You should play them in exhibition games. Look at that list from last night and replace those names with starters. In 2 weeks now, you've got to get them back. Can you? I don't know.
I think the list of starting quarterbacks that didn't play a snap in the preseason is like 14. I think Kevin Seifert or somebody, one of the Vikings beat writers, or Andrew Kramer, I want to say, had that nugget a day or two ago. So almost half the teams are saying the most important position, the most important player on the team, we think so little of these preseason games that we are not going to put the most important cog on the field because it doesn't matter. We'd rather take our chances being a little rusty in week 1, which, by the way, probably won't be the way that these seasons. I think that was a thing for a while, but now these new coaches have found ways to just hone the offense in practice and in film study that I don't think you're going to see bumbling football across the board for a month like maybe you used to in the NFL, but yeah, it's not worth the risk. And
right.
I'm glad the Vikings did it the way that they did it.
I think September's rough, but like 6 plays ain't going to fix that. That's the thing is, if you really wanted significant reps, you would have to go back to saying, we're going to play our first team guys for a half, which I'm not doing now. Yeah. But like O'Connell said, and he's right, do you really want me to put him out for 6 plays? Hey, Kirk got 6 plays, and Jefferson has a Liz Frank now. Congratulations, you're idiots. So,
yeah. So, all right. Well, there it is. That's a wrap on our preseason recap episodes, thankfully. And if you have never experienced our regular season recap episodes, they are called Vikings Vent Line, and they are exclusive to the Purple Daily YouTube channel. And then after the fact, we do put the on-demand version on the podcast feeds, Spotify, Apple, wherever you find Purple Daily. But it is the most fan-friendly, interactive show in all of Minnesota sports. We bring you guys into the video with us on a weekly basis, where sometimes, like Chancey and Fargo, will light a literal dumpster fire. Sometimes Bob in Pennsylvania will just be in a hot tub ranting and pointing at maps. It's can't miss television, if you will, on YouTube every single Sunday. So we are ready for yet another season of Vikings Vent Line. Be sure to check it out right after Packers. Yeah, why don't you tell your friends about the Before I Die can, too, that they can find inside U.S. Bank Stadium.
2 weeks from today. 2 weeks from today, the regular season starts. It starts against the hated Packers. And you know what? It also starts with the PD credo of Before I Die never having been more true. And on that day, if you're going to be attending Vikings-Packers, guess what you can get? You can get Surly's Before I Die beer. And Before I Die, what does that mean? You know what it means. It means 60-plus years the Vikings have been here. No Super Bowls. That changes now. What is your small role? Because you're probably not going to play safety. I'm certainly not. You're not going to play quarterback. Hell no. Your small role is to get on board with supporting the cause. And Before I Die beer from Surly does exactly that. Our friends from Surly, so many great choices. But on this day, with the regular season 2 weeks away for the Vikings, I want to focus on the most important thing, and that's getting this team a damn Lombardi trophy.
Wow. Inspirational stuff there from Judd. We'll hit you on Monday with another episode of Purple Daily Vikings Entertainment. See you guys.